Good evening, America. I'm Gene Bailey, and welcome to FlashPoint. Glad you're with us tonight. Very special Happy Thanksgiving. And with me, my lovely bride, Teri. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, honey.
Yeah. Now, Teri, before we dive in too much, quickly talk about growing up in Nebraska with your mom. The thing that was impressive to me about your mom is that she made a ton of food at Thanksgiving.
Yes, she did. So, of course, we were from Nebraska, so there was always the OU game that was on also, too. Had about 40 people over there. And then what we would do is we would have a huge Thanksgiving turkey in the oven in the house, but then she also had a roaster in the garage. And if you went to my mother's house, we were instructed to bring Tupperware. So she made enough food and expected everybody to take food home. So it was always a 40-plus relative tradition, and anything that you could imagine under the sun we had to eat.
Yeah, and it was staggering. And so it was wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving times there in Nebraska, even though it's like cold. Let me welcome my guests tonight, Rick Green, Dutch Sheets, and Lance Wallnau. Good evening, gentlemen. Glad you're here. Hank could not be on tonight, so we had a previous commitment, so he couldn't make it tonight. But so everything's fine. Nobody's mad at anybody, so we wish him well. So, Lance, I want to hear, what was Thanksgiving like in your house?
Well, you know, Gene, Thanksgiving was always I have an uncle. Anyone have an uncle, a favorite uncle, who was a bit of a character? And yeah. Uncle Thaddeus. Uncle Thad would come in. We called him Colonel Dingaling. He used to come in, and he was a real rough character. He used to be, he drove once as a driver for a gangster named Legs Diamonds in Detroit. And so Uncle Thad would teach us card games and how to cheat at cards. It's stupid stuff. But he was like a kid. And so, you know, you had baseball cards, you throw baseball cards, or you play darts or pool or ping pong. He was competitive, and we're all like, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, growing up to our teenage years, Uncle Thad used to hang out with us because he was like a giant adolescent. So for me, Thanksgiving was a chance to play with the adults like Thaddeus, who made it fun to be a kid. And every family needs one off-the-wall uncle just like that.
I'm Uncle Thaddeus with Legs Diamond. Is that right?
Yeah, he told me. He said, you know, I was a driver there for Legs Diamond in Detroit. He goes, I did a couple of jobs with him.
Kind of like, don't want to know.
But the point is, like, it's the one he married. Now, since we're having a Thanksgiving discussion here, we're not dealing with politics and theology. He married my mother's sister, my Aunt Vera. Yeah. But what made that funny is my mom and Vera were real demure Catholic girls who were real straight, and Vera ends up lassoing in this wild guy from Detroit who was a hoot, and I just love them because everybody just needs to have that one crazy uncle.
I agree. Okay, Dutch, can you beat that?
No, well, no, not I can't beat that. But you know, my memories Thanksgiving, especially as a young child, we were pretty poor. Dad was an evangelist, and he might make $10 or $15 a week if he was really blessed. So we didn't have much, but my grandfather, you know, he was a hardworking man, and he had one full-time job, and he had 4 other things he did on the side to try to raise a little money, and they would always have a great Thanksgiving dinner. My grandmother was legally blind, but you would never know it.
Right.
The feast was incredible. We were all pretty poor, especially my family, poor, but, you know, we didn't know it. As a kid, I didn't know it. We're talking the 1950s. And early 60s. I was born in 1954. I could remember my mom having to find, when Dad would be away in a revival meeting, she would dig through his coat pockets trying to find some change to go get some bologna to feed us. That's how poor we were. But we didn't know we were poor. She did a good job. And then on Thanksgiving, of course, as I said, we'd always had a great spread. And going to Grandma's, I don't know why it was just Grandma and not Grandpa, but going to Grandma's house for Thanksgiving was the ultimate. The pies and the food was just incredible. I mean, it was overwhelming to 3, 4, 5-year-old kid to see all this food. It was great.
It was great. I identify with a lot of that. All right, Richie, tell me about yours.
How in the world am I supposed to follow a blind grandma providing a feast for the entire family, or legs diamond? I mean, but the more I think about what Lance was saying, it just occurred to me. I'm the crazy uncle.
Yeah, you are.
I think I'm the weird one. That goes out and play. I just realized that. Thanks, Lance. I appreciate it. No, all I could think about was, we didn't appreciate it when we were kids, how special it was to have the whole family together, and the cousins and the uncles and the aunts and people you only saw once or twice a year. But I think we all went through those early years of marriage, and when our kids were young, we wanted so bad for them to get it, right? We would always say, you don't know how long Grandpa's going to be here, or Grandma, or we wanted them to get it and to understand, but of course they were just outside playing football and enjoying the fun part, but not realizing how special it is to be able to get the whole family together. So I'd say to everybody out there that's got your family together today or tonight, or maybe you're going to get to do a whole weekend together, go hunting, whatever it is, make it count, man. Enjoy it. It's a special time, and there's a reason Thanksgiving is such a special holiday here in America. We could talk about that as well, but just make it count.
Yeah, let's make it count indeed. All right, I have a clip I want to play. This is from the other show that I've done for 12 years, Revival Radio. And I did this a couple years ago. This was about Squanto and a little bit of history on those first Thanksgiving. Watch. Welcome to Revival Radio. We're here on a special set. We just finished recording some programs on the Pilgrims and the Puritans. But I want to take a break out and tell you a story. Imagine this. Imagine arriving in a strange place with nothing but the supplies you brought and the people you traveled with. It's the middle of December, and you have no home you can go to, and nowhere around is cozy, warm, and dry. Well, that's what happened. The Mayflower carried 102 people across the Atlantic. After encountering severe storms, the ship was blown off course and landed in the Cape Cod area instead of the Hudson River area in New York. Settling near Plymouth Harbor, only 52 people survived that first year, and it looked like no end in sight for their problems. The seeds the Pilgrims had brought with them wouldn't grow in the New World, and they had to cry out to God for help. Well, a Native American showed up. Was he a friend or foe? And he could speak English. He was God's answer to the Pilgrims' prayers, Squanto. They knew the hand of God had come to save them in the wilderness, and Squanto understood hardship. He had been abducted by the English sailors years earlier, taken to Spain, then England, and eventually made his way back to his people. When he returned, his final hardship was learning the entire tribe had been wiped out by illness. He was the sole survivor. Another local tribe, the Wampanoag, adopted him into their tribe, but he didn't really feel like it was his home. But since he could speak English and had lived in Europe, he was able to talk to the Pilgrims and show them what they should do. The Pilgrims were extremely grateful. The Pilgrims really had Thanksgiving only because of Squanto. Squanto explained this: the three sisters, corns, beans, and squash, that they could be planted together with fish as fertilizer, and they would help each other grow. The corn needed nitrogen, and as the beans grew, the corn stalks pulled nitrogen out of the air and deposited it back in the soil. The large squash leaves guarded the soil around the corn and the beans, protecting them from weeds and animals. So, by the end of the autumn 1621, the Pilgrims were beginning to thrive, and although there were further trials ahead, they were very helpful and thankful for the guidance of Squanto. The Pilgrims marked their bountiful harvest with a 3-day celebration. They invited the local Native American tribes, and they all spent 3 days celebrating and eating. Governor William Bradford explained, "The Great Father has given us this year an abundant harvest and granted us freedom to worship God according to the dictates of our own conscience." It was a celebration of Thanksgiving. Squanto lived the rest of his life with the Pilgrims, and Governor Bradford's quoted as saying this: "A special servant of our God, he never left us until he died." The hardships Squanto experienced from being torn from his land and everything he knew, sold into slavery, just like Joseph of the Bible, and then suffering the loss of his tribe, he did not let that stop his calling or his future. He allowed God to use him, and he saved the Pilgrims. Squanto was in the right place at the right time. You know, I hope you enjoyed that as we went back in history. Dutch, it's amazing when you look back at that story about Squanto, the fact, if it were not for this man who had been abducted and went to Spain and the UK and back, he learned the English language, only one of his tribe. I know I'm telling the story again. But yet he was there. The Pilgrims would have died if they didn't know how to grow their own food.
Yeah, it's amazing how the Lord plans ahead in his foreknowledge. It declares the end from the beginning. I mean, it's miraculous that, of course, God was in our founding, and he was in the preservation of these pilgrims and this man helping them. But it's just incredible how far ahead he is in his plans and take care of us. And thank God for this Native American that came along, God sent just at the right time. Yeah,
so true. So true. All right. Let me get, I'm sorry, Lance, did you have anything to add to that before I move on?
No, I'm in the spirit of convivial Thanksgiving. I'm not going to, bother you when you don't come back to me after you open up a huge, profound subject and then change it when you get to me. I'm going to this year overlook that starting now. I'm
really?
Overlook that.
Wow.
But I do want to add something. Have you ever seen Rush Limbaugh and his Thanksgiving thing? Because it's about 8 minutes, and I put it on the air today, where he talks about the first effort that they made at trying to survive by giving each person a plot of land, and that they would communally cultivate it and share the aggregate labors, kind of like trying to do like a Israeli kibbutz, where they all worked and put their food together and distribute it. But the young men resented people that didn't work, and so they didn't want to put a lot of effort out. And so they almost virtually starved till the governor decided he was going to change it and say, everyone gets a plot of land and you cultivate it the way you want. It's your land. And suddenly they had a bumper crop, and there was trade going on and a vigorous marketplace developed, and the beginning of capitalism and biblical wisdom started America. And then trade with the Indians came because they wanted to trade with now the thriving settlement. But the point that Rush said is that socialism was the failed, almost doomed experiment of the original group. And then they realized that they're honoring the wisdom of God and giving people incentives to use their gifts and trade accordingly actually created the beginning of the great economic miracle of the United States.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Rick, I know you got something to add here.
Well, I love that story, and if you look at what Bradford wrote about all of that, he even listed out what happened whenever they did socialism, and everybody could just take whatever they wanted out of the storehouse. He said people started faking being sick. Imagine that, but they still wanted to eat. People started going off and just playing games and goofing off instead of working because they could still take whatever they wanted from the storehouse. Imagine that. And so literally, as Lance said, they implemented private property and free enterprise, and they went from starving to thriving, and it's a great lesson for the American people today. Sure. This is why the Declaration does not say life, liberty, and the redistribution of happiness. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit. They got to pursue on their own piece of land what they wanted. And lastly, I'll just say about Squanto, could you imagine being Brewster and Bradford and Miles Standish and those guys? You're down to 22 guys. You're pretty much done. And this dude walks out pretty much naked, but he walks out and he speaks English to you. And this was only in God's plan, because you end up with Squanto ending up where he did after being captured twice, after going through 14 years of all this stuff. I mean, it's just, you cannot look at the story of America and how we got to where we are and not see the golden thread of God's providence. Daniel Webster said that history is just God's providence in the lives of men. You're just seeing God's providence in our lives. So what a great time to remember that.
So true. All right. let's move along there. Enough of this Thanksgiving stuff. No, I'm kidding. We're going to keep going. But I think at a time like this, we look back and we talked about our childhood. We talked about what it's like and in our own lives and our parents' lives and what we've gone through. Let's go back to 2020 and let's revisit Gavin Newsom's 2020 Thanksgiving guidelines. Watch.
California strongly discouraging trick-or-treating on Halloween, which is tomorrow, by the way. And look at these guidelines for Thanksgiving. Parties should not have people from more than 3 households. Parties can't be longer than 2 hours. And no singing, shouting, or chanting. Hey, Steve Hilton, host of The Next Revolution, is with us now. You're a California guy. What on earth is going on with this? Look, we've just outlined these ridiculous rules. Is there any pushback against these rules?
There is, but I mean, look at these stories one after another. The gas prices, the Disneyland being shut down, and all of this. I mean, anyone might conclude that this state is run by a bunch of incompetent, virtue-signaling leftists who have no clue about creating jobs, wealth and opportunity, and instead want to micromanage us to death with their woke nonsense and pseudo-scientific bureaucracy. You might conclude that fairly, looking at what's going on.
Yes, you would. But again, no pushback? I mean, this is the United States of America. Okay, so it's California. But these kind of draconian restrictions, isn't it Gavin Newsom the guy who said you can eat with a mask on, you just have to take the mask off between mouthfuls, something like that?
Remember how ridiculous it was in 2020? Well, let me show you this. This is CNN's suggestion for Thanksgiving dinner in 2020. Watch.
Don't have loud music. Do everything you can. Turn music way down so that people do not have to speak loudly. Bring your own plates, bring your own utensils, bring your own serving dishes, and take them home with you.
Or, as painful as it might be, experts say for many Americans, it might be best not to come together for Thanksgiving at all this year.
My 100% medical opinion is that we need to sacrifice our holidays this year. We need to stay at home in our own personal household bubble for Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's.
Dutch, do you remember that?
I could never forget that. You know, the stupidity of all of it. And when you traveled, you know, wearing the mask on the planes, and I remember being just berated by several of the flight attendants because my mask was a little too low. The whole thing was absolutely ridiculous. And history, they're going to read about us in history in 2020 and call it one of the craziest eras in American history.
Yeah, it's true. And it was amazing. Remember wouldn't you like to have had the patent on the 6-foot distancing stickers that went on the floor? Lance, that would have been huge. You could have bankrolled, you know, everybody's ministry there if you'd had that.
No, and don't forget. I mean, how can we forget? Ivermectin was vilified.
Oh yeah,
the horse dewormer, and ended up being ivermectin. If you had been really, here's the crazy part. If you had gone with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, which, by the way, cost many of us our platforms on social media.
True.
Remember that. It wasn't just Newsom. It was a foretaste of what the socialist intolerant system is when the left controls it. But ivermectin could have saved lives, and hydroxychloroquine could. Also, if the immunity... The whole thing about immunity, once you get it, don't get a vax because you're immune. Versus, remember Biden, the pandemic of the unvaccinated? You talk about an oxymoron state. The pandemic is really all of you who are healthy that didn't get the vaccine yet. So there's a lot to think about. And by the way, Gavin Newsom was willing to lock Christians up, fine them $1,000 per church service they went to, while he heralded BLM riots and said, God bless you.
What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, and let's not forget there was pushback in California, and it came from pastors. The church was willing to stand up. Some in the church were willing to stand up. Rob McCoy, Jack Hibbs, Mike McClure, Shayon. I mean, they're the ones that took them on, won the lawsuits. Mike McClure's still fighting the bureaucracy there in his town, their school, and everything else, all held over from 2020 because he was willing to defy them. And so, you know, Steve Hilton said it exactly right. It was pseudo science. I certainly haven't forgotten it. And in fact, as you played that clip, I was thinking November, Thanksgiving. Let's see, that was 9 months into COVID. We already knew exactly what was going on, and yet they still told us to not sing, to play the music low. I mean, all the insanity. And I remember us telling everybody, you know what? Get together with as many family members as you possibly can and tell the government to take a hike and not steal your Thanksgiving. Don't miss out on your family time together. And remember, a lot of people, that was the last Thanksgiving with grandma or grandpa, and they didn't get to spend time with them. Grandma and grandpa died in the hospital by themselves, not even allowed to hug except through plastic. I get angry, man, when I think about it. Righteously angry because they stole things from people, that the memories and moments that they will never get back. And we cannot forget what happened, or it'll happen again. That's so true. And this is, that's the other half of why we're showing you all this is, number one, thankful that we're not there anymore, but we need to remember to not let it go there again. You talked about science, Rick, and you remember when Anthony Fauci talked about what's science-based and on fact? Well, look at this. In 2024, he actually admitted, maybe you saw this, maybe you didn't at home, he admitted social distancing really wasn't science-based at all. Watch.
Dr. Anthony Fauci now admitting social distancing wasn't based on science. Fauci telling a House committee this week the idea, standing 6 feet apart, quote, just sort of appeared. The shocking admission comes nearly 4 years after statements like this.
Every aspect of that ending the COVID outbreak in 30 days has some aspect of it of physical separation, whether that's avoiding crowds, whether that's staying 6 feet away from people, whether that's doing teleworking. All of it does that. That's our most important tool.
Just is so upsetting because we went through so much during that period, and it seems like every time we learned something new from Dr. Fauci, it was all made up. I mean, didn't even have direction. There was no science there. No science there, Teri. What do you think?
None whatsoever. And it's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. And the whole object of the whole pandemic was, how much control can we take away from the people? How much are they willing to tolerate? And when you think about the movements now, the movements that were socialism, pushing communism, Islam, it's all about control. What can we make the people do? And it was when we saw people outside families. You see grandma on one side, and she had saran wrap on her arms, and she's hugging her grandchildren. But to tell somebody that you can't have Thanksgiving, to tell somebody how many people you have, how if you're going to speak loudly, you're going to spread germs. And you know, when you think about it, you can go on the plane, and you can take your mask off to take a drink, and you know what? For those few seconds there. Those few seconds, you're not going to be contagious and you're not going to spread anything. And if you cough, even though you're into that small little space and the germs are recycled, it's not going to make you sick. So we should have been asking so many questions. We should have been asking we've talked about Newsom. We've talked about he can go out to eat, but you can't go out to eat. Or Pelosi can go out and get her hair done, but you're not supposed to. You can go to the liquor store, but you can't go to church. They're going to find the church people, and the massive amounts of stupidity that was out there. And then the really sad part, I think, is nowadays they've proven that the masks don't work. And you still see people going out in public with those face diapers on like it's going to somehow protect them. And it's just based upon fears, lies, and let's see, how much can we get the people to do before they fight back?
You know, Lance, and you bring up a good point, Teri. I mean, we're still seeing people by themselves in their car with their mask on. I mean, it's not even funny anymore. It's just sad that this has affected our nation to this degree.
Yeah, you know, what really worries me is the airline stewardesses and stuff. Every now and then I see them still wearing the mask. And I think they just keep it on because I think it appeals to a certain psychosis of, you know, like the people that suffer from, like hand washing syndrome and something. People that actually already are a bit phobic about the world and have fear, and then the invisible enemy, COVID, once they bought into that narrative, I think it's almost like they stayed there because it gives them a certain amount of security to be blocked off from people. And every now and then when I run into people that are clearly still living in the post-COVID era, I'm telling you, I can't help it. I really believe they're all progressive Democrats because they're also the ones that are the most rule keeping with you on a plane. Like you have to sit up, you have to do this and remove this, remove that. And it's almost like they're still in this strange fixation. I've got to control everything to be safe. That's my own analysis.
What do you think, Dutch?
I want to end this on my part of this on a positive encouragement. Isaiah 126 from the Voice translation. I will bring back legislators who have integrity.
Yes.
People like your founding fathers, principled decision makers. Then your city will be called honorable and just, a model of ethics, trustworthy and strong. Thank God we're in the process of seeing that fulfilled.
Amen. Amen. I was wanting to get to Rick before we got positive. So, but thank you, Dutch, for getting us positive.
We can revert back.
Okay, let's go back. Let me, Rick, how much toilet paper do you have stored? Extra toilet paper do you have stored today?
Well, you forget I got a couple hundred people living here at the campus, so we go through toilet paper fast. So we've already used all of it. I will say, though, in learning from the mistakes and preventing it from happening again, let's not forget that RFK exposed Fauci early on in the whole COVID thing with his book, The Real Anthony Fauci, and we learned that the 6-foot rule was made up. Guys, we're still living with the inflation that came from dumping $10 trillion on the market. Republicans and Democrats did that together. I'll tell you, in our Rebuilding Liberty program that we're doing throughout the 250th, it's a 12-step recovery program for the nation. And step number 12 is abolishing the emergency powers in all the states. These 1970s laws that were passed in 73 and 74 in all 50 states that gave the governors the power to do what they did during COVID, we got to get rid of that. They should have to declare martial law. It should be so bad that they're willing to declare martial law. Otherwise, they don't get to tell healthy people to stay home. They don't get to force you to get a jab. They don't get to make you wear a face diaper, all that stuff. So I do think the response to Pope Fauci and the COVID cult is not over. I think we still have to get some good policy decisions. But it's what Dutch said. It's getting legislators, lawyers and legislators is at the beginning, judges is at the first. Then you'll be the righteous city. We have to get good people that understand the principles of liberty and the law if we're going to prevent this stuff from happening in the future.
I don't believe, you're absolutely right. I believe, though, the American people grew up a lot in 2020 and 21, 22. Mm-hmm. And they're like, wait a minute, we've been lied to. Anthony Fauci doesn't know what he's doing. And this is made up and something's not quite right. I mean, we can look back and go, boy, were we, how crazy it was back then. But look at how now, good or bad, we're much more skeptical on these things. I mean, how many times have you heard, well, COVID's coming back for another variant or the bird flu or this, and we talk about this with with Dr. Peter McCullough often, what's the latest thing and what are we dealing with? And it's like, forget about it. It's not a big deal. So we've come a long way. So give yourself some credit. All right, let's change, though, because I want to talk about the economy. And let me show you this from Caroline Levitt on Trump policies that Thanksgiving this year is more affordable. Watch.
President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more affordable this year, from their commute to the dinner table. Nearly 100 million Americans are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holiday. And thanks to President Trump's Drill Baby Drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021. President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost less this year than it did last year and is down about 5% overall. The average price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families and their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans.
Isn't that great? Great news. All right, after the break, we come back. I'm going to show you where we put that to the test. Was it or is it really cheaper this year? More right after this.
Kick off your 2026 with FlashPoint in Houston, Texas, January 8th and 9th. Join Gene Bailey, the FlashPoint team, and a selection of influential speakers at the Church of Champions for 2 powerful days of bold voices and unshakable truth as we bring insight for this time we are in America. Register for this free event at fparmy.com/events.
Step into the land where the Word became flesh. In April 2026, join Gene and Teri Bailey along with FlashPoint guests you know and love for a powerful prophetic journey through Israel.
We're coming to Israel, and I promise you, you may have been on a tour, but you've never been on a tour with FlashPoint.
Worship where heaven touched earth. This isn't just a tour. It's an encounter with God in the land of miracles. Space is limited, so reserve your spot today.
You're invited to a special evening with the FlashPoint Army. Join Gene and Teri Bailey and other special guests for the FlashPoint Gala on Saturday, December 6th at 6 p.m. Together, we'll celebrate all that God is doing through the FlashPoint movement and look ahead to what's next. Enjoy a beautiful dinner and an inspiring word from our keynote speaker, Dutch sheets, and so much more. Register today, fparmy.com/gala event, as space is limited.
We're back, second half. Yes, you need to come to the gala event coming up December 6th, right around the corner. Dutch is, of course, our special speaker, and there a lot of people are going to be there. Lance is going to be there. In fact, let me read who's going to be there. That so far, Lance Wallnau, Dutch Sheets, Floyd Brown, Ed Rush, David and Tim Barton will be there. Dr. Peter McCullough. Seems like there was somebody else that just said they were coming. Cheon's going to be there. Nate Schatzline.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a great time, and we're going to talk about stuff that's going on with FlashPoint, things that we don't have the opportunity to dive into too much, but we're going to talk about that at the gala because we don't have time on television, Teri. We've got plans, we got ideas, don't we?
Oh, we've got lots of vision, and we've got we're going to have information that you've never heard before and things that we're planning on doing that you've never heard before. And you ought to get there just to see all the great guests, starting with Dutch, but then there's Lance and Richie and his mom and Kara, for starters.
Yeah. That's right, just for starters. Yeah, and if you come,
yes,
it's worth it so that you can go see Rick's mom and call him Richie and
stories.
And she
get
will
all kinds of really
you will
good
get
stories.
Good stories.
And I think she plays the piano too.
She does play
and
the piano.
sings. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rick, you want to comment on that?
You know, Teri, I expect it from Gene. Teri, I expect it from Gene. You're usually the one defending me and being like, Gene,
we
don't
love
be so
you.
mean.
But we love you. But your mom—that's what your mom calls you, and nobody loves you more than your mom, right?
I like it when Mama calls me. You're right. You're right. And it is going to be a great night. Look, this is one of those rare opportunities for us to all get together. And like you said, Gene, it's not going to be on TV, so y'all are going to get to share some of the behind the scenes with us. It's going to be a cool night. It's going to be special. I'm hoping this becomes an annual deal for us.
Us too. It's going to be, there's great silent auction stuff to help. It's just going to be a great night. Space is limited, however, so make sure you go on. If you're flying in, it's right near DFW Airport at the DFW Weston. All the information's right there at the website, and you can be a part of that. And Dutch, any clue what you're going to talk about there for your none whatsoever?
No, I'm not going to give any clues. Other than I will say generally.
Yes.
I'm feeling a very strong prophetic stirring that night.
Amen.
I feel like the Lord's going to release, as you guys talk about some things and some plans that you have for the future, I believe the Lord is breathing on that in a special way, and I believe some of us are going to have some things to share, to confirm, and to speak prophetically into the next year.
Amen. That sounds awesome. I think I'll come. Are you going to come?
I think so. Will you be my date?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we'll be. All right. Look at what Jim Jordan posted. He said, gas prices near lowest level in 4 years ahead of Thanksgiving. And I don't know, those of you that live in other states, look at what that small line says. Oklahoma, the state with the lowest price, offers gas at $2.50 a gallon. Now, that's amazing. That's how things have changed, Lance, from just a few years ago.
Well, not to mention, I mean, people don't get this. Doesn't it get you crazy, people? You know, like the whole, this is Trump's economy, and people are upset about the cost of groceries and affordability for housing. Trump takes on the dumpster fire. He goes into politics because he's fed up with the incompetent way politicians handle business. We've sent away all of our wealth. The rich cats on the coastal elites that are usually leftists have gamed the system with the globalists to make a fortune on the stock market, while the average American is just getting weaker and weaker and opioid crisis kicks in. My point is this. Trump goes around the world, ends 8 world wars, international wars, with tariffs, brings home over $20 trillion of foreign investment, and gets beat up for spending too much time focusing on other countries. And you know, I don't care what you do, you'd think that we still would be able to quash that spirit, but that voice is still in the legacy media, and it's the narrative. No doubt it's part of his frustration when he blows up at Marjorie Taylor Greene. He can't handle the critics that are in his own house because he knows what he's doing is a Herculean task.
It is Herculean. In fact, if we would have, I have to say, if you told me all of those things would have been settled within the first year that he's done, would have said, no, that's too much. That's ambitious. I'll pray that way, but yeah, I don't think any of that can happen. All right, I said for the break, we're going to go to the Walmart and find out if the prices are really cheaper. So here's Damian Fielder proving prices are lower for Thanksgiving. Watch.
So every year, the American Farm Bureau releases a report talking about how affordable Thanksgiving dinner is or not. Last year, the numbers came in at $58.08. In today's numbers show that the average cost of a Thanksgiving dinner for 10 people is now $55.18. But we're going to actually go into the store here in Walmart in New Caney, Texas, and we're going to actually see if those prices are accurate, if prices have gone down or have gone up since 2024. So come along with me and let's see what we find out. 12 ounces of cranberries for 97 cents, celery for 87 cents, a pound of carrots for 97 cents. Remember, for the carrots and celery, we're doing half a pound of each. 3 pounds of sweet potatoes for $3.46. Last year's turkey was 16.62 pounds. This one is 16.75, so almost exactly the same. And you see $12.90. But the fact of the matter is, we have the screenshots and we literally have the receipts that last year's Thanksgiving dinner, according to the American Farm Bureau, was $45.55 for all their items. And this year, for those exact same items, they came out to $37 even. So, can you acknowledge that this is actually a positive thing, or does your hatred for one side of the aisle keep you from doing so? That is the question you have to ask yourself.
All right, Teri, have you noticed that as well? It's cheaper?
Cheaper, very much so. Yeah. And you know, the thing is we have got to kind of pray for these people that have got this distorted view. And basically, it's just like the same thing when we were talking about 2020. What they're trying to do is create a narrative, create a storyline, and so everything has got to support it. So we, in fact, and that's why we do what we do, is that we should have truthful media with truthful facts where people can we can just lay it all out and then you can decide what's really going on. But the prices of food this year have gone down for Thanksgiving dinner.
So, Rick, you should have a big feast, I expect.
Well, I didn't know you were going to talk about this for today, but I was getting diesel the other day. I drive an old 2011 diesel pickup with 330,000 miles on it now. And I actually noticed, it surprised me as I was finishing and looking at the price. I was like, wow, this has gone down, but I didn't realize how much it had gone down. We really are almost back, not quite back to 2020 levels, but then that reminds me, guys, you remember how good it was in February of 2020? I actually think that's a big part of why the pandemic happened, was to trap Trump and to break the incredible economy that they had been able to create through 4 years of his policies. And so here we are at 10 months in, and he's been able, despite all of the craziness out there, been able to get us almost back down to those same gas and diesel prices, which affects everything, right? So whatever gas and diesel's costing, that's going to affect all your other grocery bills. Every time you ship something, I mean, it affects everything. So we got a lot to be thankful for. And just imagine 3 more years, what could possibly happen. I know there's some doomsdayers out there saying some chickens are coming home to roost and all that stuff next year. But I think there's some good stuff happening too. And it's I don't know where it's all going to end up, but I'm sure thankful today we're back down. I think it was $3.29 for me, $3.29 a gallon for diesel, which is getting back down to an affordable range.
That is. All right, Lance, I don't need to ask your gas prices. But I mean, are you seeing this? I mean, talk about the economy effect. Gas prices, we know, I think it was enlightening the first time I understood how new home builds affect our total bottom line in America. If they're not building new homes, if we're not having new home construction, it goes right along with the gasoline and fuel costs. The whole nation economy grinds to a halt.
Yes, sir. Well, and the big thing that Charlie was focusing on, and this is, I can't emphasize this enough, is that the under 30 crowd we've lost the man who was their champion in saying, get saved, get married, have children, own a home, get a job. Charlie was working to make it so that you didn't own the home at 40, you could own it at 30. And Trump got that message from Charlie. Now Benny Johnson is carrying it. And it's the secret to creating a middle class. Remember, I don't want to predict this because I don't think it's a pleasant thought, but the under 30 crowd has been so groomed by the left in our dysfunctional school system that they think socialism is a viable option. They think of socialism like it's social media,
right?
And they love it. So they're groomed right now to share our distrust of institutions, feel like they're the forgotten man, tap into that populist frustration with the under 30s. They're going to resent the heck out of us older people getting Social Security because that's how the left will frame it. The older people that got you in debt, they're the ones you're paying for. Now, I could see where the end times can go unless we have an extension of grace. And we've got to reach that next generation on purpose, Gene, with the message about capitalism, economics. We got to get this economic house in order, and we have to talk about God, marriage, family, a job, and owning your own property. That's where Charlie was going, and I'm telling you, we better pick up that mantle fast.
What do you think, Dutch? You agree with that?
I do, and I'm with Lance in the infuriating aspect of this, that the way the media twists and refuses to report the truth. But I think also what Trump has accomplished in this short time is astounding. It's astounding. He claims it's up to about 20 trillion now of business that's coming into the nation. This is going to produce incredible turnaround for our nation. It's already started. And the prices, they are down. But the media, the lying media, it's infuriating the way they refuse to speak the truth. I remember back when all the gas pumps, you saw the little stickers of Biden saying, I did this, pointing to the price of the gasoline. It's way down. Things are turning around, but you wouldn't know that to hear most of the media, and it is infuriating. And the people in America, they're so ignorant. So it's astounding how ignorant they are. But we got to pray that the truth gets out there. And I would add one more thing, the housing thing. we have to pray that God moves on these people to bring these interest rates down, because this housing market must kick in again in order to do what we need in this economy.
Yeah, without a doubt. Rick, your thoughts?
Yeah, let's go back to Reagan and what he did in '81 with the tax cuts, because I think what Dutch just said is so true. That what Trump has accomplished is outstanding, because it's even in the face of not reducing spending on the congressional side, which should have been done with all the DOGE cuts, right? Well, Reagan had the exact same problem. He cut taxes and he spurred the economy, and we had that massive increase, doubling of the economy itself, but the spending tripled, and that's how we started continuing to get into the debt. So there's these other factors which I think is what Lance was getting at. We have to get the economy under control, get the spending under control, and you have to get the 20, probably 30 million illegal aliens out of the country, because that's causing the housing market to go up. That's making it a lot harder to get the inflation down. You have all these people here that many of which are not contributing. They're just taking money off of the system. So it's making it harder. So to do all the things that Charlie was talking about, we got some big steps to take. Yeah. But the fact that the economy is as good as it is, in the face of those extra 20 to 30 million people being here, in the face of the federal government continuing to spend at COVID levels, is remarkable. If we fix those two things and continue to drill, baby, drill, and do the other thing Trump's doing, oh, man, folks, 3 years from now, it could be the best economy we've seen in our lifetime.
Yeah. Lance, I can tell you got something to say there.
Well, it has to kick in before the midterms. And, my concern is that it's happening already. But that if it isn't an undeniable fact that it's going to be economics is going to be the challenge, and Republicans have got a challenge because they're not really Trump has the brand, not the Republican Party, and we need to raise up a whole lot of candidates who are going to be able to say the policies that are working now, that are turning the country around, that are making affordability now, this is what will save America and keep happening. If you go in the direction of what the progressives want, we will be back in a Biden economy. And then with Trump messaging that way and the Republicans messaging the right way, if the economy is solid, we might be able to squeak through minimizing losses in the midterms. I'm really looking at that 1 year out battle, because that's where the enemy plans on kneecapping our third great awakening and our national reformation.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, let me show you. We haven't talked about AutoPen and some of the disastrous things that were done. But today, President Trump did dismiss one of the AutoPen signatures. Watch.
You remember last year, after a thorough and very rigorous investigation by Pam Bondi and all of the people at Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the White House counsel's office, and the Department of Everything. We have a Department of Everything. You know what that is? I think that's called the White House. Into a terrible situation caused by a man named Sleepy Joe Biden. He used an AutoPen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid, as are the pardons of about every other person that was pardoned other than, where's Hunter? No, Hunter's was good. That was the one pardon, Pam, that was good, right? The rest of them are all invalid. I don't know what the hell you're going to do about that, but now we're going to take a little of the joking. That is a mess. But they're hereby null and void. The turkeys known as Peach and Blossom last year have been located, and they were on their way to be processed. In other words, to be killed. But I have stopped that journey, and I am officially pardoning them. And they will not be served for Thanksgiving dinner. We saved them in the nick of time. This one has plenty of time, but they were saved in the nick of time.
Yes, the turkeys were exonerated. So what do you think, Teri?
I'm just relieved. No, quite frankly, we have a turkey ready to go into the oven.
Yeah. So let me show you. All right, so that was last year's. But what about this year's turkey? What did Trump, did he pardon them as well? Watch.
Are you ready? Gobble.
Oh, there you go.
I just want to tell you this, very important. You are hereby unconditionally pardoned. He said, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. There you go. You're right.
Okay, so Gobble made it. There you go, Rick. I mean, this is news at its finest right here.
Yeah. I was thinking about what Mark said last night. You remember how he pointed out, Trump is just a master of television and communication and all that. I mean, leave it to Trump to use the pardoning of the turkeys to make a very valid point about the auto pen and just keep that in people's minds. I mean, that's a stroke of genius right there and well played.
But you can tell when he went off script. when he went off on the other parts, but which I think is great, like you said, great television. Lance, your thoughts? Auto pen.
Well, no, the thought I've got is that what I love about this president, and we may never see someone with this acumen in the future, although J.D. Vance does good with memes, and he's learning like an apprentice, like a young Jedi. He's learning from the master. But the reality is Trump loves to interrupt and manipulate the news cycle. And what most people miss is he brings out the dignity of the flags and the press, and people don't really know what he's going to say. Yeah. And so he says whatever he wants to say. I mean, and he picked some of the worst timing to do that. I mean, I remember at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, I was praying in tongues for him. I pray a lot for him when I'm listening to him talk, because when he goes off script, it's a high wire act. You don't know where he's going to go. That's part of the genius of it. But he started talking about making an announcement tomorrow in the Oval Office. I'm thinking, no, not at the memorial service, but he can't help himself. He's always setting up the news cycle because he knows it's always against him. So he's constantly trying to do what he can to redirect the conversation.
All right, I got 6 minutes time to go around the room and around the set here and let everybody wrap up. Dutch, I'll let you go first. Your thoughts? And I think you should keep us higher altitude, Dutch. We got a lot to be thankful for.
Okay, well, let me just say this, because I'm using it in my post this week. I have used it. The word Thanksgiving comes from the word charis, which is the word for grace and favor. And so Thanksgiving is Eucharist. We actually, the word Thanksgiving is also the word Eucharist, which is, of course, the communion meal. So I just want everybody to know that Thanksgiving didn't start with the Pilgrims. It started with the Last Supper, when the Lord gave thanks, the Eucharist, and initiated it. So as you celebrate throughout the day today with your family, hopefully that's been a centerpiece, what the Lord has done for us.
Oh, that's so good. All right, Teri.
Well, we just want to say thank you to all of you out there. We thank you for all of these wonderful, talented people that come on every week, that come to our events and help us get the truth out. But we are so grateful that the FlashPoint Army is out there, that you are supporting everything that we're praying for the good initiatives that Trump makes and our local people in offices. And so we want you to know, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for advancing freedom in our country, because what happens in America affects the entire world. So we just give God providential. We see from 1620 to now, there's so many different things that God has had his hand in our lives, and we just want to thank him. And we continue to look for that hope in the future, that God's going to be moving things on our behalf, in Jesus' name.
Amen. All right, top that, Rick.
Oh, man. Well, I know it's getting late into the evening, and many of you, your family's already gone home. But if not, or even if you just go do this and then send it to them in a text, go to wallbuilders.com tonight and type in Thanksgiving and pull up some of the Thanksgiving proclamations in our nation's history. There's three that I love. 1777, in the middle of the Revolution. It's a great one from the Continental Congress. 1944, Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the middle of World War II. And then in 1863, Lincoln's proclamation in the middle of a civil war. In all three situations, they had it a lot worse than anything we're dealing with right now, and yet they took time to thank God. And even FDR, a Democrat, told the nation, spend time between now and Christmas in the Holy Scriptures. Folks, that's the best way to say thanks. Let's get that increased devotion. Let's saturate ourselves in God's Word. Amen. Let's take our nation back.
So good, so good. All right, Lance.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea for people to make a list of the top 10 things you're the most grateful for in your life, the top 10 people, and include the things you take for granted, your health, the fact that your home is heated or cool, the fact that you got a comfortable chair you're sitting in now, the fact that you're living in peace. You're not worried about your house being blown up or a riot on the street. And I think that one of the great characteristics of the last days is people are unthankful, but thankfulness creates a magnetic field. When you operate in that anointing and that blessing and that energy, it attracts to you the blessing of God. So that gratitude and thanksgiving is a strategy to push away the darkness and draw blessing toward yourself. So think of it that way, and you'll make it part of your daily routine on purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Being thankful. It's hard to be mad when you're thankful. So good advice there. Thank you guys for being on tonight. And I'm thankful for all of you. Of course, I'm thankful for you, Teri.
I'm thankful for you, Gene.
Okay. Thankful that you're cooking and I'm not.
Yeah, and doing the dishes, too.
And doing the dishes, too. No. All right.
And the laundry.
And the laundry.
Let's face it, Gene, we know that you're really not the party person either. She's also hosting. She's the one inviting people over, because you know how people do get under your skin after a while. So
yes, they do.
We appreciate
you do know
you hanging out with us.
Yeah. I do kind of retreat. I very much retreat.
No.
I know. Hard to believe. All right, so tomorrow night's show, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, and Dr. David Vella. And did you know we're going to talk about, of course, all things, a lot of medical stuff, some great information. If you can't watch it or you're with family, record it, go back and watch it. But this is going to be a great program. Did you know there's something you should be concerned? Even if you did not get vaccinated, it's actually possible that some of the shedding, you might need to do some detoxing. So we'll find out more about that when I talk to Dr. Peter McCullough and Dr. Bowden tomorrow. It's going to be a great time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part. And listen, I want to mention before I go off the air, make sure if you're interested in going to Israel with FlashPoint, in less than 2 weeks, we've already filled up our first load that we thought we were hoping to get to. So now we've opened up more seats, more slots for you to come join us. 1,800 people said they were interested. Right now, we're closing in on 150, which is what we were going to take. So we added another bus. I suggest you go to fparmy.com/Israel, get your reservation in, and get your payment in to secure your spot. I think it would be, Lance, I would love it if you'd come to Israel with us. We'll pay your way.
He's going to pay my... Oh, you mean I don't have to pay my way?
Yeah,
Thanks,
you don't have to
Gene.
buy your own ticket. I'll pay for it.
Oh, heck, I was, with an offer like that, and I'm Jewish, Gene,
I know.
Think about that.
I know, yeah. Rick, you should go. Dutch, you should go. Come on, we'll have a party. It'll be a great time. Make sure, Teri, are you going to go?
I'll go with you.
Okay, you can go. All right. Thank you for being a part of FlashPoint. We're thankful for you. Thankful for all of our partners, friends, investors that keep us going. Thank you for being a part. Let's remember the real reason for this holiday season. Thank you for enjoying FlashPoint with us. We enjoyed going down memory lane with you. We'll see you tomorrow night.
From our family to yours, happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at FlashPoint.
Hello, FlashPoint Army. I'm excited to announce that we're having our Made in America sale. We just put huge discounts on all of our products that are made right here in the USA. My Pillow bed pillows, body pillows, go anywhere pillows, and bolster pillows. They're all made with my patented adjustable fill so you get the best sleep of your life. And how about our mattresses, mattress toppers, mattress pads, adjustable bed frames, mattress foundations, and so much more. All made right here in the USA. And we've even expanded beyond just quality sleep. Like the cross I wear every day, now it's available in both men and women's. And how about my coffee? The greatest coffee in history. And we've even expanded into health and wellness with everything from ashwagandha and apple cider gummies to liquid joint formulas, body and beauty detox kits, liquid complex for heart and brain support, Cold Buster all-in-one immune formula, and Vibe, the best superfood ever, and Vibe Plus collagen. Fish oil omega-3 pills, Pro and Prebiotic Gut Formula, Prostate Complete, and a natural sleep formula. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-975-4719. Use promo code FLASH to get huge savings with our Made in the USA sale. Thank you and God bless.
This is the FlashPoint Television Network.